Every time I bring up capitalism, somebody points at the game Monopoly and says that's an accurate representation of capitalism. What dorks. But as you know, and I know definitely, that's the furthest thing from the truth. And if you don't know that, well, you're about to learn that today. The main issue with the game Monopoly is everything is already a monopoly once you start off. I shit you not. Every square is a monopoly. There's no competitors to each business. No competitors whatsoever. So when you start off, everything's a monopoly. Of course the game's going to end in a monopoly if the game starts off as everything being in a monopoly. It's a trick. The game sets you in a world where monopolies already exist and tells you, oh look how monopolies naturally happen. But it's just a trick. It's a trick because everything starts off as a monopoly. No monopolies actually naturally form in the game Monopoly. Everything is a monopoly once you start the freaking game. And the only reason why you can go bankrupt, and you do go bankrupt at the end of the game, and one person ends up owning all the property, that's only possible because everything starts off as a monopoly. Basically, every business is already a monopoly, so they have no competitors. Because they have no competitors, they could price gouge you and exploit you and take as much money as they freaking want from you, and that's why you lose property so fast. For example, like, they could charge $6,000. Well, there's no competition in town, so you gotta pay $6,000. But if this was real capitalism, there would be competitors, and there would be somebody charging $50 instead of $6,000. If there's nobody exploiting you and you're staying at the square for $50, you're not going to be going bankrupt, are you? Competitive pricing is very important in capitalism, and it definitely exists in capitalism, but it doesn't exist in the game Monopoly, and that's huge. That's a big deal. Of course, one person is going to end up owning all the property at the end if they could charge whatever they freaking want to stay at their square. But in real capitalism, again, that doesn't happen because they could charge $6,000 to stay at their square, but there will always be somebody charging $50 or $100, a lot less, and you won't have to do business with them. In fact, they'll go out of business for charging that much. They'll go out of business because they won't be making business. Real businesses that engage in exploitation in capitalism go bankrupt. They don't end up owning all the property at the end. That's the difference. Now, that's not the only problem with the game Monopoly. The other problem with the game Monopoly is every time you land on a square, you get nothing in return. Your money just vanishes. In real capitalism, when you buy something, you get something tangible of equal or greater value in return. So you would never go bankrupt. You would never lose all your stuff at the end. You would always break even. Unless you purposely make bad deals, you're going to be fine. Okay, if somebody made a true board game where capitalism is represented, for example, like you start off the game, there's competitive pricing, and there's nobody exploiting anybody because there's always somebody offering a cheaper price. So they can't exploit you because they'll just go out of business if they try. And every time you did business with somebody, you get something equal or greater value in return for that money. Yeah, the game would never end. The game would literally never end. There would be no one guy owning all the property at the end. That wouldn't happen. It would be taking the game Monopoly out of the game Monopoly. What's funny is the game doesn't illustrate the problems with capitalism as much as it does the government. There's a reason Fidel Castro ordered all Cuban Monopoly sets destroyed, and the Soviet Union has banned the game. Imagine landing on a square, you pay a fee and get nothing in return. Sounds a lot like taxes, doesn't it? You may say, well, taxes, you get something in return too, just like capitalism. Not really. I'm sure there's something the government is paying for that you don't agree with. For example, the war on drugs, or a war overseas, or abortion, or the death penalty. No matter where you lean politically, the government is making you pay for something that you deem to be murder. The government spending your money on stuff you hate is worse than throwing it away, because it goes towards stuff you disagree with and loathe. That's thievery, to say the least. If you envision every square of Monopoly to be a tax that promotes something you disagree with, you will quickly see that government takes and takes and takes without giving anything in return until there's nothing you have left financially. Government is essentially a monopoly itself, by the way, because everything it takes over, well, there's no competitors. That is, by definition, what a monopoly is. The only thing that can create a real monopoly is government. This is a fact. The game Monopoly also does a great job mimicking the government-regulated banking sector, as the game comes with a single central bank. They have the ability to inflate the currency, and they have rules restricting lending competition. Basically, the government has a monopoly on the money. Okay, so I think I accurately described the problems with the game Monopoly. Also, the game is literally socialist propaganda. The precursor to this game, Monopoly, is called the Landlord's Game, and it was invented and patented by Elizabeth Magie. She tried selling it to the Parker brothers, but they weren't interested. Now, Pennsylvania's Wharton Finance School used it as a teaching device, but we all know what it really is: socialist propaganda. Now, it remained in schools for years as socialist propaganda, and that's how it began its life. Now, over time, people started adding their own rules to the game and started developing what we know today as Monopoly. Eventually, somebody gave it the name Monopoly and patented it and gave it its own official rule set, which differentiates it from the original Landlord's Game enough to make it its own thing. And they got very rich from it. And that's how Monopoly was invented. It started life as a freaking socialist propaganda tool. And if you ask me, that's what it remains today as, a socialist propaganda tool. If you found this video useful or helpful, please let me know in the comments. And please share this video. I'll catch you on the next episode. Penis. Do you see this? Do you freaking see this awesome key holder? Are you tired of the sound that keys make in your pocket? Are you tired of them taking up all the space in your pocket? Are you tired of your keys stabbing you in your freaking pocket? Are you tired of all your keys looking identical and not knowing which key is which? Well, now you know what order they're in, and you can identify what each key is. All these problems can be solved with this new key holder, which is now on sale for $10. $10! Buy it now! Link in the description box.